Hey there, everyone. Sean O'Rourke, cyber liability consultant at Combs & Company, and welcome to the next installment of my video series about the New York State Department of Financial Services, Part 500, Cybersecurity Regulations. Again, I challenge you to say that 3 times fast. And we're down to the last 3 required elements of the regulation. And today we're going to talk about cybersecurity policies. So what you're going to notice, especially in the video notes, is that there are 14 areas in which this section entails, and most of it revolves around your technology, the policies that you put in place in terms of how that technology is secured and accessed, and around the customer or non-public data that you house, and again, how that data is accessed and stored and secured. So what you're also going to see is that this actually takes into account some of the other items that we talked on previous videos, and you can go back and check those out. I'm not going to make it easy for you. I'm going to make you do some work. So what a policy and procedure essentially entails is that you tell the entire world, not necessarily figuratively, how you are going to handle your information systems and your non-public data. And you're going to take these step by step. This is a very logical and organized process that you follow, and essentially you sit down with both the business side and the IT side of the house, and you follow these 14 areas, and you're going to develop a very thorough overview of your entire cyber infrastructure and data infrastructure. And you're going to know from soup to nuts that when you store this piece of information, it is classified as such. It is stored in such and such a place. These folks are allowed to access it. These folks are not. This is how you secure it. This is how you back it up. And this is what happens if that data ever gets violated in any kind of way, whether it's internal or external. The policies and procedures areas may look a little daunting, and they can be because they do take work and they take some time for you to develop the relationships between your business and IT folks to create an organized framework. But believe me, it will be worth it. What happens after an event is very chaotic. It can be very damaging if you do not have the proper steps in place. And this step in the process is what you're going to do to make sure that it is as organized as possible, that you know how to respond to it, and then you'll know how to deal with it from a legal and a regulatory standpoint as well. So again, my name is Sean O'Rourke. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or you just want to vent, I'm always happy to chat. Thanks. Hey everybody, Sean O'Rourke, cyber liability consultant at Combs & Company, and welcome to my final video, at least for the non-exempt portions, of the New York State Department of Financial Services Part 500 Cybersecurity Regulations. Again, I challenge you to say that 3 times fast. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about the final major piece of the non-exempt portion, which is a cybersecurity program. And really, when you look through the regulations, you're going to wonder immediately what's the difference between a cybersecurity program and a cybersecurity policy. Well, I'm glad you asked. A program is basically a living document that encompasses everything that we have talked about in the previous videos and some of the things we're going to talk about in future videos. A cybersecurity program talks about what you're going to do from a security standpoint. It talks about what you're going to do from a response standpoint. It talks about the regulatory agencies to which you have to report any kind of cyber event. It's going to talk about the rules and regulations in terms of breach notifications in states in which you are subject to notify people should anything happen to your data. It's going to talk about who has access to your data. It's going to talk about your third parties, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, the program is a document that you sit down and you craft between your business side and your IT side, because both of them have to be aware of what the responsibilities are for each portion, both in terms of the prevention and the response. This is the most important piece of the regulation because this is the first place regulators are going to go looking should you report that something has happened either to your systems or your data. And without a decent cybersecurity program, of which no covered entity for the DFS is exempt from producing, without that, you are going to be subject to harsh penalties and your defense of what has happened is going to be negligible. So again, be sure that you sit down, you at least do this portion, and by doing this portion, it will automatically force you to do the rest of the other 6 steps within the non-exempt portion of these regulations to make yourself compliant. So again, my name is Sean O'Rourke. I'm a cyber liability consultant. I'm always happy to chat. So if you have questions, concerns, comments, or you just want to vent, drop me a line. Thanks very much. Hey everybody, Sean O'Rourke, cyber liability consultant at Combs & Company, and welcome to the next edition of my series of videos on the New York State Department of Financial Services, Part 500, Cybersecurity Regulations. And as usual, I challenge you to say that 3 times fast. Anyway, today we're going to jump over to some elements of the regulations that only pertain to those companies that are not exempt, are not exempt, from all elements of the regulations. And the reason why we're going to jump over here, because there are some elements that I think businesses of any size should still follow, or at least try to follow. And the 2 we're going to talk about today are multi-factor authentication and incident response plan. The easiest one to start on is incident response plan, because technically you should already have one as part of the cybersecurity program that is a requirement for all covered entities under the DFS Part 500. That cybersecurity program was talked about in a previous video, so go back and check it out. But an incident response plan is exactly what it says. It is a plan that you have in place on how the IT and business portions or segments will respond when you have a cyber event of any kind. It's detailed, it's systematic, and it just lays out all the steps that you're going to take in order to respond to an event. Then there's multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And this is actually a fairly easy, fairly convenient tool that you can put in place to duplicate your security efforts. Most systems require a username and password, but multi-factor authentication will include a second or a third step in order to access a system or any sets of data. And the second step is usually an SMS text to your cell phone. Not necessarily the most secure, but better than nothing. There are also authenticator apps, what are called authenticator apps, that you can install on your phone that will produce a code for you that has to be inputted before you can gain access to a system or data. These multi-factor authentications can actually be free, and in some cases, they're actually inexpensive for a per user fee per month. If you are using cloud-based systems, a lot of the cloud-based systems, especially those who take security very seriously, already have multi-factor authentication in place. You just have to turn it on. And in so doing, you're going to increase the security around your data and the systems that you use on a daily basis. So those are 2 additional elements that I think companies, small, medium, large, should implement going forward, and will further provide you protection against cyber incidents. So again, my name is Sean O'Rourke. I'm a cyber liability consultant. If you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to vent, I'm always happy to chat. Thanks. Hey everybody, Sean O'Rourke, cyber liability consultant at Combs & Company, and welcome to my final video on the New York State Department of Financial Services, Part 500, Cybersecurity Regulations. As is my want, please try to say those 3 times fast. Anyway, what we did on the last video is we highlighted 2 elements of the exempt requirements that I think all size businesses should implement. And what we're going to do on this final video is highlight 2 more. Now, caveat, I really think you should be doing all 16 elements of the regulations. I think all size businesses can accomplish that in a cost-effective manner. But if you are only going to choose 4, choose the 2 I highlighted last week, and then the 2 I'm about to highlight here. The first one is penetration testing and vulnerability assessments. Essentially what that is outside in is penetration testing. You're testing your environment from the outside in. Vulnerability is inside out. You're trying to spot vulnerabilities from the inside out within your network and your systems. Essentially, why you're going to do this is because you're going to be able to highlight for your IT team, whether they be internal or external, where they need to work and focus to make you more secure. And then I debated on the fourth and final one. I went back and forth about a number of them, and I've settled on training and monitoring. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to take all your employees from the C-suite all the way down to anybody who puts their hands onto a keyboard that attaches to your systems or your network. And you're going to train them how to spot phishing emails, how to dodge business email compromise scams, how not to go to websites that they shouldn't be going to, how to work within your security measures and protocols in your cybersecurity program. And then you're going to monitor them. And by monitoring them, you're going to make them better, because you're not going to call them out publicly, but privately, you're going to let them know where they're coming up short in all your testing and how they need to get better to make sure that your environment is better protected and you don't suffer a cyber incident. While this all may seem like a lot of work, it's because it is. But it is absolutely necessary. In today's world, you plug a machine into the internet knows it within a few seconds, and that means the world will know it within a few seconds. You can no longer take the shot that I don't have anything anybody will want, or I'm too small, they're not going to notice me. Even if they don't notice you, they will find you by accident, and you will suffer the consequences. And I don't want that to happen. So again, my name is Sean O'Rourke, Cyber Liability Consultant at Combs & Company. I hope you've enjoyed this video series, but if you still have questions, comments, concerns, or just want to vent, I'm always happy to chat. Thanks.